Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the NASRA 360 Racing Network. This is Duel Race number 2. And of course, I am William Tiller. I've been joined tonight up in the booth by Hunter Parsons, and Cody Knott is the man providing all the wonderful camera angles and the beautiful footage you'll see here tonight. Hunter, we just saw an excellent race in Duel Race number 1. I hope the folks at home loved that race as much as we did. For the folks at home that missed Dual Race number 1, what did we see in that race?
We saw a really long green flag run, about 20 laps or so, and then the last couple laps we saw a couple cautions, very big wrecks, and a almost photo finish to the very end with Jose Rivera winning by just 7 thousandths of a second over the 19 of Jonathan Pugh.
Yeah, and we had some leaders crash out at the very end there. We had about 3 cautions in succession that involved basically all the trucks inside the top 10. But here we go. This is going to be a who's who of a field in Dual Race number 2. As we see, Chris Blanchard will kick us off, starting off in the first position. Bill Hayes will roll off second. Zach Hartwick in third. Dana Shepard in fourth. Raul Meza in fifth. Justin Lumpkin in sixth. Ed Osborne in seventh. James Morris in 8th, Adam Newber in ninth, and rolling off 10th is Chris Cinnamon.
And then next row we have Johnny Lawrence in the 77. Then we have the 39 of Dane Hagen to his outside, the 7 of Clint Mata. Followed by them is the 13 of Michael McKinnon, and to his outside, the 81 of Taylor Peacock. And rounding out the field will be the 72 of Jason Stevenson in that 15th spot.
And just like Dual Race number 1, this will be 30 laps here at Daytona. They'll have one fast repair and one set of tires. What we saw there in Dual Race number 1, fuel will become a strategy these drivers will have to watch out for as they are rocking 65% fuel capacity. So we'll see which drivers head down early or which drivers pick the perfect window to take that checkered flag. But here we go as we come off of corner number 4. The pace lights are off of the pace truck, and we are ready up here. The drivers are ready, and so is Barney the flagman with that green flag as we'll kick off Dual Race number 2 with Chris Blanchard taking us to the line in that 9 truck as we await the roll up to the Geico restart zone. We're in that zone right now as Chris Blanchard will take this green flag as we head down to corner number 1.
Chris Blanchard will get a nice start with Hartwick in that 93, staying tight to his bumper as they're going to break away from the field just a little bit on this start. But that outside lane will stay formed up, 4 trucks deep, potentially getting a run around your leaders there. Very early, already seeing lines form up, trying to get that momentum working on that top side. With the 25 of Bill Hales coming back to the point on the outside of that number 9 truck.
As Blanchard takes us down to corner number 3, still is our race leader on that inside. We saw the inside track be the fast lane in Dual Race number 1. Let's see how it plays out here tonight as we hit the apex of 3 and 4. We are essentially side by side around 3 and 4, already getting very close to one another. As we come off of 4, heading down to the start-finish line right now, looks like Hales will take us to the line and lead lap number 1 as we head down to corner number 1.
As you mentioned, the 25, Bill Hales, he will be leading that first lap. But that inside row is certainly not going to go away as the 25 is going to cut out in front of the 9. Very bold move to get back down to that bottom lane. We'll see if that top lane can get anything rolling again with the 45. We'll see 2 lanes forming. Chris Blanchard's going to hop back out to the outside. As we have one foot in the wall. They're going to be wrecking behind your leaders. That's going to affect 5 or 6 trucks. Not
Hard
sure
impact on that inside, that outside wall there, Hunter, on the backstretch. And you know, when we saw Blanchard throw that move there, and Hales did the same thing, where you go to the inside and you throw that block. That was a move that I thought we were going to see a lot in Dual Race number 1. We didn't really see it at all. It seemed like both lanes were content with the speed that they had. Not here in this duel, though. It looks like you're just trying to inch in front of that truck and get in on that inside lane. But we watched this replay here in the NASRA 360 Racing Network. Boy, Hunter, that just looks very, just colluded to me. Just a lot of trucks trying to jockey for position. I'm trying to see who exactly that was that took a hard impact to the top side wall.
Yeah, it was the 18 of Justin Lumpkin looking like he may have gotten a bad push and just got that truck upset and just having nowhere to go, trying to correct it and save it. Then everyone behind him just gets collected Not sure who else all was collected. It looks like the 13 of Michael McKinnon, and it is, as well as the 39 of Dane Hagen, the 81 of Taylor Peacock. Unfortunate for a lot of drivers, but as we mentioned in that first server, a lot of these trucks typically would be out of the race with that kind of damage, but Santa came a little late again and is going to give these guys one fast repair for the evening. Unfortunate, they're going to have to use it on that first lap.
Yeah, that was essentially lap number 2 we were on there. We had just crossed the start finish line. We were heading down into corners 1 and 2, and that happened just on the entry of 3, I do believe, right on that backstretch right before the corner entry point. But right now on lap number 4, we're under caution here in dual race number 2. We have Chris Blanchard leading the way in that 9 truck, and as we have a break in the action here, Hunter, who do you see winning here in dual race number 2? Who's your pick to win this race?
I'm actually going to go with your race leader right now, the 9 of Chris Blanchard. He's a very strong super speedway racer. Last week, for those who don't know, he led 45 of the 50 laps at the Clash, and unfortunately, he got a little loose and spun out, giving the win over to his teammate. I know he's very upset at himself for letting that one slip away. And something we haven't mentioned yet, the front row for Daytona next week, it's already locked in. Your pole sitter is going to be Brandon Bullock, who was quick time, and Chris Blanchard was second quickest overall in qualifying last week. So he is locked into that front row, regardless of what happens tonight. So he's got absolutely nothing to lose here tonight. And as we mentioned before that wreck happened, he threw that almost crazy block to get back to that top lane, trying to take control and keep control of the race lead, as he's just going for a win tonight. So I'm going to pick the 9. Who do you got?
Ooh, that's a good choice there. And as you saw, we saw with Bullock in dual race number 1, he was content with just having a fun race, running inside the top 10. But Blanchard here tonight, he wants that checkered. I think for me, it might be a sleeper pick for the folks at home. But if you know this driver, this driver has a lot of experience, a lot of different classes of cars, a lot of different series here at NASRA. My pick here tonight is Raul Meza in that 37 machine. I think here tonight he has a great chance to snag this victory. He's a type of driver that's going to kind of coast in that he's going to coast in that position there. He's going to take his time in this race, and then he's going to make most of that opportunity, whether it's on the last lap, whether it's 5 laps to go. He will pounce at an opportunity. Whether or not he gets that checkered at the end, we'll have to wait and see. But I believe we will see big things out of that 37 here tonight.
Yeah, and another thing to mention, he is one of those super speedway gurus. He loves these kind of races, and a lot like Jose, who ended up winning that first duel, he loves to be up front. He loves to keep control of the race. So your pick may not be a sleeper pick as you think I will.
Yeah, amongst the other names here in this field, you look at Blanchard at the top of the grid, you look at Hales right there, Hartwig, Cinnamon, look at Hagen right there's a little bit further down the grid, Shepard in the mix as well, McKinnon, we just saw him have to take that fast repair, Stevenson, a lot of great names in this field here tonight, but I think for Raul, this will be a great jumping off point if he snags the victory here in dual race number 2 heading into that main event next week. I think it's going to be a huge confidence booster for this 37 machine, and we'll have to wait and see here with 26 laps to go here in this 30-lap shootout. We couldn't get but 2 laps in, about a lap and a half, a lap and a quarter there before we had our first caution of the night. But here we go as we head down to the apex of 3 and 4. Barney is ready, we are ready, and so are the drivers here to kick things off here once again.
As you mentioned, the pace lights are off on the pace truck. Chris Blanchard going to be leading them back to the green. Bill Hales to his outside. Raul behind the 9. And Zach Hartwig still holding out in the top 4. As the pace truck does dive down, Barney is going to have that green ready as they hit the Geico zone. Chris Blanchard's going to get the early jump as we head through the tri-oval off into turn 1. Raul Meza tight to the bumper of that up front Motorsports number 9 machine. Top lane staying formed up as it needs to keep that ability to have the momentum.
Yeah, as we come to the apex of 1 and 2 right now on the exit of 2 right now down the backstretch. Still Chris Blanchard leading the way on the inside lane, trying to hold off Raul Meza in that 37. Big moves though out of the 25 on the top side lane. They're trying to build up a lane as well, as it looks like Hunter, as we dig down in the entry of 3, we might get one lap into the books here in dual race number 2. Not like what we saw in dual race number 1 where we didn't have any caution. So essentially the last 10 laps of the race. But right now Chris Blanchard will take us off of 4 as our race leader down the front stretch.
As we had that wreck earlier, you got to wonder if some of these drivers, that was a big wreck. It took out a lot of cars. Wonder if some of these drivers will be a little bit more patient as we go throughout the progression of this race. Try not to get into any more trouble as they're out of fast repairs.
They are indeed. You only get one fast repair in this race here tonight. Once that regular season starts, there will be no more fast repairs. So no matter what damage you take in the race, you have to rock with it. You have to keep moving and grooving inside of that truck. But one thing to watch out for, Hunter, as we enter corner number 3 right now, we're essentially side by side for the race lead to the apex of 3 and 4. A big shakeup there in dual race number 1 was the pit stops. We saw a lot of guys that were running inside the top 10 get shuffled down outside of the top 10 into about the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th position for some of those drivers. Jonathan Pugh was able to overcome that in the 19, finishing about the second position there. Gave Jose everything he had at the line. So watch out for those pit stops here as we dig down to corner number 1. Still Chris Blanchard as our race leader here, as it's getting a bit tricky there on the apex.
Yeah, we see a lot of cars spanning out, trying to just make something happen. But certainly a lot of follow the leader. You got to go where the car in front of you goes to keep that speed up. You don't want to be a big parachute as cars behind you are going to have all that momentum as they dive into 3. Chris Blanchard still going to be your race leader with the 37 of Raul Meza tight to his to his bumper. He may end up popping out here, as I know Raul likes to keep that control of the race lead. See if he can get to the outside of him at some point here, but the 25 is still going to be coming strong with the 93 of Zach Hartwick to his outside as they dive down into turn 1.
Yeah, huge run right up there. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of that top side lane so far right now, Hunter. It's very tight up there. Only about 2 trucks up there right now. They're essentially nose to tail with one another on that top side. Getting very kind of sketchy off of corner number 2 right there. A lot of trucks didn't like the way they exited the corner there. A lot of moving parts here. So we're going to check out Chris Cinnamon right now, right behind the 42 truck. Chris is running just inside of the top 5 right there, just outside maybe the 6th truck in line right there. We'll see what he can do here tonight. He's in a great position though. He has to pass some trucks to move up to the top of the grid. But a good riding spot right now with 21 laps to go as we cross this line down into 1.
Yeah, Chris Cinnamon is another one of those heavy hitters. No matter what track he goes to, whether it be super speedway, short track, road course, he is always one to keep your eye on. As last week, I believe he was 2nd or 3rd at the Clash. Oh, he got into some trouble, but always finds his way to dig himself out of that hole. Always one to keep in mind. He is your teammates with that 9 of Chris Blanchard, so look to see those drivers hook up later on in this one.
Yeah, and that's going to be easier said than done, as Raul Meza has essentially linked that front bumper right to the back bumper of Chris Blanchard here as we hit 3 and 4 right now. Looks like that 42 truck of Osborne's will put his nose into the mix as well to push that 37 along. Doesn't want to get too close though as he tries to inch closer to that 37. He's going to stay his distance though. He's going to cross this line, make it 20 laps to go. Digging down to corner number 1 as Chris Blanchard still is our race leader, but it's very tight at the top of the grid.
Certainly do not want to make any sort of mistake running this tight together, especially this early on. You don't really want to push the issue too much. Put yourself at risk of potentially ending your race.
No, not at all. As we head down the backstretch right now, Chris Blanchard still is our race leader, has a 25 machine right to his outside right there. Very, very close as we enter into corner number 3. No clear race leader on the track right now. We are 2 by 2 for the lead right now as Chris Blanchard is going to inch just a little bit here on 3 and 4 as we exit the corner. Still Chris Blanchard as our race leader. Raul Meza in 2nd. Hales in 3rd for a brief moment. Hartwick in 4th, and Osborne will be our top 5 right now with 19 laps to go as we head down to corner number 1.
And Will, I've noticed a lot between the 2 servers. There's a lot of similarities. It just doesn't seem anyone can really compete with that bottom lane. That, as we see the top lane getting a little shaky, but This lobby, the bottom lane doesn't seem very tight and established as that first lobby. However, that outside row still can't get that much of a run to clear Bill Hills down to the bottom.
No, you're exactly right there, and I'm noticing the same thing, Hunter. It seems as though they lose a lot of momentum on the corner. Right now, the top side lane has just dissipated completely right now as you start to see some other shakers now trying to form that line back together. But for a brief moment there on 3 and 4, that line totally disappeared. As we're going to cross this line, making 18 laps to go as Chris Blanchard will take us down into corner number 1. But here comes Ed Osborne in that 482, looking like Mr. Osborne or Oscorp right there in Spider-Man, trying to take over like the Green Goblin on the top side lane of that 42 truck as he hit the apex of 1 and 2. He's battling Chris Blanchard for the lead.
I know Ed Osborne is hungry for another one. He picked up his first NASRA win just a couple weeks ago at the race of the Clash of Talladega. Just a
Riding on board Raul Meza right now in this 37 machine, currently in second, right behind Chris Blanchard in that 9. He's pushing that 9 along, and this is exactly what I was talking about, Hunter. He'll take his time until the end of the race, and then you'll see that 37 pounce at that opportunity.
For sure, he is always going to be one to talk about at the end. Whether he ends up getting wrecked or going for a win, he is always out there having a good time. But you'll always see that 37 Surf Pro out front.
Yeah, right now it's still very, very tight at the top of the grid. You have Osborne in that 42 truck right up there. You have Cinnamon in the 3. That is our top side. On the low side, you have Chris Blanchard in the 9. Raul Meza in the 37. They are very, very close indeed. For a brief moment, the top side will inch forward. Then the low side will inch forward. And then it's a give and go all the way around the racetrack. As right now, Chris Blanchard is our race leader just by a hair, though, as he takes us off of 4 to the start-finish line. Make it 16 laps to go.
And we are in between our fuel window, so at any point we could see some of these leaders duck down behind pit road to get that little bit of fuel to make it to the end. So pretty soon here, I'm sure we're going to see teammates trying to hook up together, link together, get single file, and duck down into pit road.
And has how tight we're racing here in dual race number 2, Hunter. That's going to be a bit of a tricky situation to get down pit road, especially for these guys that are on the top side. If these leaders decide to head down, they might throw a little bit of a pump fake there to fake out that top side lane. And what that'll do is essentially close the door for those top side drivers to head down with the other leaders. So that's going to put them about a lap behind there as far as that pit window goes.
Yeah, as I see, we at least have 2 teammates down on the bottom of the 37 and 38 of Raul and Hagen. But right now I'm looking up front where we have Chris Cinnamon and Chris Blanchard, teammates maybe trying to get one another down on that bottom lane, maybe try and pit together. Like we mentioned in that first duel, 2, 3, 4 trucks, very fast compared to a whole field. If you could come off pit road together and stay linked up tight enough, as we see Chris Blanchard jump up to that top lane in front of his teammate, the 3 of Chris Cinnamon, and then may just be doing what I mentioned, try and get each other down cleared in front of the 42 of Osborne to be able to come down to pit road as they do.
Yeah, that 42 truck of Osborne tried to go to the low side lane there, ride out that lane as much as he could. He's now finding out that might not be the best opportunity. Now he's topside once again. Raul Meza is going to be the driver that's left out of the mix, though. He's just going to stay where he was at right there in the 3rd position. Going to have to now push Chris Cinnamon along in that 3 truck. So Chris Blanchard's our race leader down into 1 and 2 as we hit the apex of 1 and 2 right now. And Hunter, we gotta think here. The next couple laps, we'll see these drivers start to head down pit road. It's gonna be a bit tricky for the guys that are on the top side right now. But down the back stretch, Chris Blanchard's leading the way in that 9 truck down into 3.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, pit coming up pretty soon, so probably a very smart move there by the 37 to not put himself in a position where he's got to stay out and go an extra lap or 2. So very smart to be able to put himself in that position to be able to pit whenever these leaders decide to go down.
It's going to have to happen soon as Chris Blanchard will head down pit road now, but it looks like the only driver that will head down with him is his teammate, Chris Cinnamon, in that 3 truck. So these drivers will get the early window here with 13 laps to go. We'll see when the rest of those leaders head down. They are accompanied by Taylor Peacock in that 81 machine as well. It's going to be quite the finish we're going to watch here after this reshuffle of drivers on that grid after these pit stops, Hunter. But right now on the track, Ed Osborne's our race leader down at the 3.
Yeah, that was Taylor Peacock, a teammate of Cinnamon and Blanchard. So 3 teammates down on pit road. All 3 of those very good drivers when it comes to the pit stops. So 3 trucks at their caliber of ability, I would be looking to see those guys come out in front of the lead pack here, cycling through these pit stops. As
Ooh.
everyone else will be coming down pit road as
Yeah,
everyone's trying to slow down, get a little shaky.
Yeah, I thought there, Hunter. I thought we were seeing a little bit of showmanship there, maybe a little pump fakes, but it looked like these drivers were just so hot coming off the corner there. Some of them had to skirt a little bit to get down pit road. But right now we're watching green flag pit stops take place here on the NASRA 360 Racing Network. If you've been liking what you've been seeing so far here in Duel Race number 1 and Duel Race number 2, we invite you to go ahead, like, subscribe us on YouTube and Facebook, as well as the Twitter page as well. NASRA has races almost every day of the week. So if you're liking what you're seeing on this production here, we invite you to go do that to stay up to date with all the action here at the NASRA 360 Racing Network. But right now we're watching a reshuffle of the field here with 12 laps to go as green flag pit stops are taking place.
Yeah, the upfront motorsports guys, they had a good stop, but I just don't think the 3 of them were going to be able to clear out in front of the leaders. But fortunately enough, they will be able to hold on to that little bit of a draft to stay with your lead group. So still a good pit stop, and now we're going to be racing this one to the finish.
Yeah, to the finish indeed with 12 laps to go. Bill Hales is currently our race leader inside the 25. As he's going to take us around corner number 4, we'll see if Bill heads down pit road. He will not. He will stay out right now, making 11 laps to go as we cross the line here at Daytona. So he's going to come up fast here in this group of trucks that just pitted. Looks like Ed Osborne will lead the way in that 42. He has Raul Meza right behind him in that 37. It's going to be very tight right now as we're all bunched up for the race lead around 1 and 2.
Yeah, the 7 of Clint Mata there, he went out and just had no one to go with him, but Bill Hales is your teammate of Ed Osborne on that Mission 1 Esports along with Mike McKinnon. So very good teamwork there by Osborne and Hales, as Upfront Motorsports is going to be all up in front with Mission 1, as Chris Blanchard will be leading that outside row in that 9, followed by the 81 of Peacock, trying to make their headway on the top lane. Osborne comes up just a little bit, and Blanchard has to avoid any little bit of contact as they're coming down through the tri-oval. Bill Hales will lead them at 10 laps to go, but this one's certainly not over, Will.
Not over indeed right now as Bill Hales is still leading the way down to corner number 1. Chris Blanchard on the outside. Right there we have Ed Osborne in the 42. We have Peacock in the 81. Raul Meza in the 37 is currently in third as we come off a 2. Down the backstretch, drag racing for the race lead with 10 laps to go.
Taylor Peacock doing all he can to get Chris Blanchard out in front, but unfortunately I don't believe Chris Blanchard will come down to block that bottom lane. Just going to need to keep that momentum rolling on that high side, try and keep that 9 out in front of the 25. But Will, both of our picks right now for the race win in the top 8 with certainly a big chance to win this one.
Oh yeah, definitely right now, making 9 laps to go. Bill Hill will take us down to corner number 1 as our race leader. Your pick, Chris Blanchard's on the top side in that 9, has the best chance right now, inching forward just a little bit on the entry of the corner. Looks like Hale has the run as we go around in 1 and 2 on the exit of 2 right now. Still Bill Hill leading the way, but you see on the exit of the corner, looks like that top side lane, if they can stick together, they might have the momentum. As Chris Blanchard, that 9 truck, it has a big run down to corner number 3, see if he has enough to inch forward. He does for just a brief moment, as Bill Hale will take us around 3 and 4, still as our race leader.
Taylor Peacock in that 81 doing a great job drafting with his teammate there, not really giving him a bump in the corner, but staying right up tight to his bumper. As I mentioned earlier in that Duel 1, that may just be the key to success, as there's a little bit of side drafting through the tri-oval. The 25 is going to come up into the 9. Luckily, no wreck or damage done to anyone there, so play on.
Play on indeed right there. No stoppage of play in this sport of racing as Bill Hale is our race leader trying to hold off Chris Blanchard in that 9 truck to the top side as we're drag racing down the backstretch right now. This is very close as we head down to corner number 3. Chris Blanchard will go to the inside, throw the block on Bill Hale as our new race leader down into 3.
And our last duel, this is when we saw our first caution, so you got to be thinking people are trying to get up front. Now is the time to go. Do we see a wreck happening here soon? As a pair of teammates are going to be out front controlling the field in the 81 and the 9 as Taylor Peacock will lead this time by as they have 6 to go.
And Taylor Peacock is still battling Chris Blanchard for that race lead on the top side. But we saw what needs to happen there, Hunter. We saw what Chris Blanchard did. He held it together. He got good pushes from the top side. He made that move to throw the block on Bill Hill on the inside. Now Chris Blanchard has the inside track. That is the inside lane as we head down the backstretch here with 7 laps to go. Chris Blanchard, our race leader here, already locked into the top row for the main event. Next week, he wants to take the checker, though, here in dual race number 2. As we go around 3 and 4, Chris Blanchard as our race leader.
That top row for sure needs to figure out what they got going on. I noticed the 81 has a little bit of rear damage, so very hard to do any sort of pushing from that 7 of Clint Mata as the 42 Ed Osborne is going to jump up to that top lane in front of that 81. That may just be all the top lane needs to get a run around that 9 of Chris Blanchard.
And boy, it's anybody's race right now. We have about 10 or 15 trucks in this pack of drivers right here, Hunter. This is very airtight for anybody's race as we head down the backstretch right now. Chris Blanchard is our race leader as we dig down to corner number 3. You look at Osborne right there. You look at Hale right there as well. Raul Meza's in the mix as well. We have Peacock up there. The who's who of dual race number 2, and you can't forget about Chris Cinnamon in that 3 truck with 6 laps to go. But coming off of corner number 4, we are side by side for the race lead across the line. Make it 5 laps to go in dual race number 2 down to corner number 1.
Ed Osborne still trying to do all he can out front on that top lane. But I just don't know if the 81's going to give him enough of a push to get out in front of his own teammate of the 9. So we'll be eager to see if Peacock can give the 42 any sort of a push or potentially even go around him as he's trying to peek to that outside. Ed Osborne is going to throw a little bit of block. They're wrecking behind. It looks like the 38 of Dane Hagen. Oh no! But no caution as they flew to the infield of the racetrack. We are going to stay green. Looking hard at the field.
Yeah, Hunter, we're going to stay green here on the racetrack as we had trucks crashing down the backstretch right now. But Hunter, Chris Blanchard would take us across the line with 4 laps to go as we head down to corner number 1.
Yeah, unfortunately, we were talking about the 3 of Chris Cinnamon. He made it out of that clean, but he just has no help, so he's going to need a little bit more of a prayer to hopefully have a chance at this one. But we're going to go back up front to your race lead in the 9 of Chris Blanchard. Ed Osborne still on that outside with Peacock and Mata trying to put that outside row together, but may just not be enough cars out of this small little group for the race win.
Yeah, the top side has definitely lost a lot of trucks right now. We are now down to about 7 or 8 trucks in the mix for the race win. Down the backstretch with 4 laps to go. We are drag racing. Now, this is the front stretch here. Make it 3 laps to go. Throw up those 3s. Rest in peace to Dale Earnhardt as we dig down to corner number 1. Chris Blanchard is our race leader. Ed Osborne with a huge run down into the entry of the corner. We're now side by side to the apex of 1 and 2.
They are going to have a 4th truck come up with them on that outside. That is going to be the 45 of Shepard as he is going back and forth. Well, when you're riding 4th or 3rd or 4th in line, you just have nowhere to go. You just need a little bit of a gap or a prayer, if you will, on that last lap to make anything happen.
Yeah, and I think right now, Hunter, in dual race number 2, the regular season hasn't officially started. If you're going to pull out any kind of crazy moves, this would be the race to do it. Now, I'm looking at Raul Meza right there in that 37 machine. There's some other trucks in the mix as well. They need to make those moves right now as we cross the line. Make it 2 laps to go as Chris Blanchard will take us down. To corner number 1 has Ed Osborne right on his door, though, down to the apex of 1 and 2.
For sure, if you're Raul Meza, you got to make something happen right now. Even if you're the 25 of Bill Hales, You do not want to be trapped on that bottom lane coming to take that white flag. You just got nowhere to go that last lap. But right now, I would personally either rather be Ed Osborne or Dana Shepard. Hopefully, if they, for Dana's sake, if there is a wreck, you might just have a chance to be able to go around it or through it, if I may. But right now, they are going to be coming through 3 and 4. Chris Blanchard's still leading them as they're going to be coming by this time to take your white flag in your dual race number 2.
Yeah, white flag is in the air as Chris Blanchard would take the white flag down to corner number 1. Ed Osborne, though, on the top side wants to give him a run for his money to the line. We look at Bill Hill right there in the 25 as we hit corner number 1 to the apex of 1 and 2. Right now, Ed Osborne with a huge run on the top side trying to stay in that lane, trying to give Chris Blanchard all he can in this final lap as we dig down the backstretch right now. We are drag racing down the backstretch, Hunter. This is the final lap of dual race number 2.
Yeah, I see a lot of pushing there from the 7. Definitely do not want to be doing any pushing of the pusher, but that's going to shuffle the 81 of Peacock out. Clint Mata through the 7 is going to take...
Oh, no!
Everyone, and that's going to give the win to number 9, Chris Blanchard. Unfortunate for everyone there, but I just believe the 7 just made it a little too risky, but he was doing what he had to give himself a shot at the win.
But Chris Blanchard will win the race in that 9 truck. Whatever happened there on that last lap, Chris Blanchard ran one heck of a race here tonight. Didn't have to, Hunter. We talked about that here tonight. He's already locked inside of the top row in the 2nd position for next week's main event. That didn't bother Chris at all here tonight. Ran a very, very strong race. Didn't falter outside of the top 5 at all here tonight. Was one of the strongest trucks out there. And now with that checkered flag, makes it known he is the strongest truck here in dual race number 2.
Yeah, and rounding out your top 5 will be the 45 of Dana Shepard. As I mentioned, he was one of those cars at the back of that front pack and just waited his time out, bring home the 2nd spot. The 3rd spot will be the 18 of Justin Lumpkin. Rounding in 4th will be Michael McKinnon. The one thing, Will, he was in 9th to take that white flag, quite a ways behind your front pack. So seas parted for him, and he was able to bring home 4th. And round out your top 5 will be the 7 of Clint Mata.
Yeah, and you see that finishing the official results right there. You see some guys that were in the mix early. Chris Cinnamon, you look at Taylor Peacock as well. You know, Hartwood's in that run. Hales right there. Bill Hales right there is going to have a kind of a disappointing finish to a great run, though, for his truck here tonight. You know, as I said in dual race number 1, there's a bunch of names to watch out for the main event next week. Of course, we have our race winners in dual race number 1 and 2. There's also names that had bad runs here tonight that I'm sure will improve on that next week as we head to that main event here from Daytona. But here tonight, Hunter, I believe it's time to catch up with our podium finishers of the night. We're going to see what happened there on that final lap to see who exactly finished 3rd in this race, Hunter. But before we do that, any thoughts about these dual races so far?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of great racing tonight between the 2 duels. We saw a lot of give and take, a lot of patience, but when it comes down to it, those last couple laps, it's time to go. Gloves are off, and really excited for next week to put the 2 lobbies we had tonight together. So tonight, some guys ran with their group, and then next week we're gonna have, I believe, almost 40 full trucks running this thing. So it's gonna be an exciting race for sure to watch from start to finish.
It will indeed, but I believe you are catching up with our 3rd place finisher. That is Justin Lumpkin, who came into the picture there at the very end with all that commotion. I believe you're catching up with him right now.
Justin, Will, and Hunter in the booth. You got us?
I do.
Wow, what a race for you. We saw you in that opening few laps get wrecked. I believe you had to use a fast repair from collecting from the outside wall and ended up bringing it home 3rd tonight. Kind of take us through your shoes of how your race went for you tonight.
Well, we started off 6 on the grid, and usually anytime I'm at a super speedway, I just try to take it easy at the first few laps. But being the duel, I was just going to stay up there. And I saw the guys get a little crazy in front of us, so I let up. And I don't know what happened, if the guys behind me just didn't see the checkup and got to the back of me. But I went around. Truck didn't want to steer. I was lucky to make it to the pit road to be able to get the fast repair without having to tow.
For sure. And I know I understand totally the whole checkup stuff. It's hard to do when you're going at a super speedway, especially very early on. Everyone's in a big group. But how does that change the rest of your race, knowing you don't have that fast repair anymore? As the rest of the season, you're not going to have a fast repair.
Oh yeah, uh, I didn't expect us to have fast repair tonight. I didn't know we had one until midway through the first duel, and I told my teammates, I was sitting there telling them that they had a fast repair. But yeah, man, after that, I was just trying to ride in the back, stay with the pack, but just stay to the back where I could miss something if there was another wreck to happen. But it worked out, and I mean, I didn't think we were going to make it to the white flag, and then I was like, well, we made the white flag, and then we made it to the last two turns, and all chaos broke out, and I just kept it straight and drove on through.
Yeah, and I don't believe that last little bit. Were you in that front pack, or were you a little bit ways behind?
No, I was in that front pack with them. I was about the
Okay.
third or fourth truck on the bottom lane.
Yeah, and at that point, you're just wide open and hoping you can make it through it.
Yep.
Well, the time is yours, Justin. You got any people watching or shout outs you want to give before we let you go?
Oh yes, sir. For sure, always my family and friends, my mom and dad, always watching. Appreciate them. But the guys at Sick Wit at Motorsports, Jeff, Adam, Steven, and Blake, and any other guys I'm missing. A's Lawn and Landscaping for coming on the truck this year. Darren's Nail Gun Repair, Millie's Restaurant and Catering, all our sponsors for the team. Yeah, appreciate the guys, and I appreciate you guys here at NASRA 360.
All right. Thank you, Justin. Hope we get to talk to you a little bit more next week at the season opener at Daytona.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Again, that was our third place finisher, the 18, Justin Lumpkin. And Will, I believe we have our runner up finisher, Dana Shepard, waiting for you.
I believe we do, and the name that we talked about was on the very tail end of all that commotion there on the last lap. Dana, you finished second here tonight through all that craziness on the last lap. How were you able to get that done here?
Oh, just trying to be patient. You know, I do some speedway racing on some other leagues, so I knew kind of how to play it. And I actually was a little upset from the beginning with that wreck early on, and I had to reset my game plan. But I got a little nervous because midway through the race, my brake actually started to drag. So I thought my day was over.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't over. Indeed, somehow,
No.
some way you snagged that second place here tonight. And Dana, it was a calm race there. Of course, we had that first caution to start off the race. Other than that, it was more so a strategy battle throughout tonight's race. What was your strategy coming in, and did it play off the way that you wanted to?
Well, my strategy was to stay up front from the beginning and just sort of set the pace with everybody. But then with that early caution, it kind of reset everything. And I decided maybe I'd just start towards the back. I didn't use my fast repair, so I still had that in my pocket. But I figured my plan better change and be more of a subtle run, ride the back, and watch people and see what develops.
Yeah, we watched that here tonight, and we watched you get a second place finish. And Dana, of course, this was a dual race here tonight. What can you take from this race here tonight? Obviously, you're going to take a podium finish, a second place that you can apply to that main event race next week.
I think mostly for today being the short run than it was. It was really more of just getting comfortable with any of the new people I didn't know and seeing if there's anybody I could feel comfortable pushing or not. And, you know, I found a couple of guys I felt comfortable. Definitely, you know, Peacock, he's a good guy you can push. McKinnon, we were in the back there pushing each other a little bit. So you really just learn who you can be around and who you might be able to push a little bit versus someone that's very unstable.
Yeah, well, a great run here tonight. Dana, you're going to finish on the podium with that second place finish. And Dana, before we let you go for the night, is there anybody that you want to shout out or any sponsors that made this race possible for you?
Well, of course, and I thank you. Hopefully, I don't forget anybody that Brady wanted us to announce, but I definitely got to thank DEP for the paints and the support of the team, and he supports me through all my iRacing. But then I got to thank NGG Gaming. Numb Thumbs Gaming just came on board for the team this year, and of course, you got to thank Triple M, and then I got to thank Blanchard's Towing. I got Hoopty's Garage, which is Jacob's sponsorship. So you know, all those guys make it a lot of fun to do and really support this league. So I really got to thank all of them, and I hope I didn't miss anybody.
It's like an Academy Award speech. You want to get
Yeah,
everybody out of the way first there. But Dana, great run here tonight.
wait,
Second place finish, and hopefully we speak to you soon here. We'll see you in that main event next
definitely.
Friday night, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon. Another great
Yep.
run there next week.
Hey, thank you guys. Hopefully, I'll talk to you next Friday. That'd be awesome.
Yes, sir. Well, we appreciate you taking the time with us, man. Have a great weekend. We'll speak
Right.
to you soon.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yes, sir. And that was Dana Shepard, our second place finisher there, Hunter. But I believe you're catching up with a man of the hour, a driver who didn't need a win here tonight, already locked inside of that top row for the main event next week. The strongest truck out here. Take it away, Hunter, with Chris Blanchard, our race winner.
Yeah, we have the man of the hour in that number 9 upfront motorsports machine, Chris Blanchard. It's Hunter and Will in the booth. Do you have us?
I got you loud and clear.
Well, I don't even know where to begin. I talked to you throughout the week, and after last week at the Clash at the Coliseum, you let one slip away, and you were beating yourself up on it. What does it mean to come back, lead, I believe, the most laps tonight, and then get the win?
It feels really good. I've been on a vengeance all week. Jumped into a Xfinity race last night just for shits and giggles and led 26 laps and finished 4th. And I came and started here on the pole and wanted to win, and that's exactly what I did.
Yeah, and as we mentioned throughout the broadcast, you locked yourself onto the front row last week through qualifying, so you didn't really have anything to race for except for that win and a little bit extra money tonight. What was your kind of game plan going throughout this race, knowing it didn't matter to you?
Well, I wanted to prove a point and prove it early that I'm going to be around. So I wanted to race up front. I wanted to lead every lap that I could, get my teammates up front as quick as possible, and have a good green flag pit stop and execute. And that's what we tried to do. And I got back up in the lead and was able to hold it.
Yeah, and I believe you did a really good job of that. You had your teammates up front. Unfortunately, last couple of laps it didn't work out for them. But I don't know if you heard it or not throughout watching the broadcast while racing, but I picked you from to win from the very beginning. I knew you were pretty upset after last week, but what can you do and take from tonight that you can apply to next week when you're going to have 40 plus trucks and no fast repair to try and bring it home again with another win?
I've learned a lot tonight by running down bottom and up top on the what the trucks do. I don't want to give my secrets out, but I definitely learned a lot enough to be able to stay up front and hopefully win this thing.
Awesome. Well, I hope we get to talk to you again next week a few more times, and definitely one to be watching throughout the whole season, as you've proved to be one to be up front. So the time is yours. Give any shout outs or thanks that you got.
Well, this is the first year that normally Blanchard's Towing sponsors my car. That's me, so I normally sponsor my vehicles, but I got a ton of sponsors now. Grant Tactical Hydro Dipping came on, when I came up to Upfront Motorsports, they're on here. We got Over the Top Designs, Dan's Top Notch Heating and Coolant, and a couple other ones that I can't see down bottom. But it's an honor. I try to put myself around good people that know how to race, and I can learn from them. And I'm excited to be on this team with Taylor and Keith and Chris Cinnamon. Last year I sat on the pole, I think it was, and was getting ready to win the duel, and got into Chris Cinnamon, and I wrecked, and I think he won the race. So it's kind of ironic that this year he's my teammate. So we made fun about that, and it was a good race, and I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Chris, and hopefully we get to talk to you again next week.
Hopefully, we'll see. Have a
All
good
right.
night, guys. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Chris. Well, Will, that's gonna do it for our duels at Daytona before we head into the season opener next week.
It sure will, and what a dual race session it was. Dual race number one was definitely a different pace than what we saw in dual race number two. Dual race number one was very calm, cool, and collected. We saw the inside lane have a lot of speed right there. Of course, Rivera's going to get that win in dual race number one, but it's because he kept his cool. He actually flipped from top side to low side there, read that low side. Didn't have any cautions there until about 10 laps to go in dual race number one. Kick it off to dual race number two here. Hunter was a very different pace of what we saw. The top side lane and inside lanes were essentially identical throughout tonight's race. Caution flags didn't really come out at all. We had one very early and I believe one more in the middle of that race, but it was Chris Blanchard's race all night here tonight. He led most of the laps. He was on top of the grid most of the time. And boy, if there was ever a pick for next week, it might have to be that 9 truck of Chris Blanchard.
Yeah, you can definitely hear the confidence in him and his ability at this super speedway. Definitely one to be watching next week throughout the entirety of the race.
But as we mentioned here on the NASRA 360 Racing Network, the main event here for the Triple M Pulling Truck Series will kick off next Friday night right here at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tune in to watch all your favorite drivers once again. But once again, a big congratulations to Rivera there, our dual race #1 winner, and Chris Blanchard, the dual race #2 winner as well. But for all of us here at the NASRA 360 Racing Network, myself, William Tiller, I have been joined by Hunter Parsons up here. And of course, Cody Knott has been providing all those excellent camera angles and the beautiful footage of tonight's race. We want to thank everybody for tuning in here tonight. We'll catch everybody next Friday night, same time, same place, 9 p.m. Eastern, for the official start of the Triple M Pulling Truck Series right here on the NASRA 360 Racing Network. Have a great night, everybody.